Once upon a time in a small village, there lived a young boy named Liam. Liam was 8 years old and had a great passion for playing the violin. However, he found it quite challenging to hit the right notes. Every time he played, the sound seemed more like a cat shrieking than a melodious tune. But Liam loved the violin and dreamed of playing beautiful music someday. One day, while practicing in the garden, his grandmother, who was an accomplished pianist, heard him struggling with the strings. She decided to have a chat with him. "Liam, my dear," she said, "do you know even the greatest musicians had to start somewhere? It was practice that made them perfect. Try spending just a little more time each day, and you'll see the progress." Inspired by his grandmother's words, Liam decided to dedicate himself to practicing for an hour every evening. Slowly but surely, he began to notice improvements. The notes that once seemed impossible now came more naturally to him. His fingers moved more fluidly across the strings, and the once screeching sounds were transforming into sweet melodies. Months passed, and as the annual village talent show approached, Liam decided to participate. He was nervous, but remembered his grandmother's encouragement about practice leading to improvement. When the day of his show arrived, Liam stood on stage with his violin, facing the expectant audience. He took a deep breath and started playing. The music that flowed from his violin was beautiful, enchanting everyone who listened. His heartfelt performance earned him a standing ovation, and he could see the pride in his grandmother's eyes. Liam learned a valuable lesson that day, that dedication and practice are the keys to achieving one's dreams. The story became an inspiration for all the children in the village, teaching them that with persistent effort and patience, they too could transform their passions into something remarkable. And so, the story of Liam and his violin became a cherished tale in the village, reminding everyone that practice truly makes perfect. Once upon a time, in the small village of Greenvale, there lived a little girl named Lila. Lila was known for her vibrant imagination and an insatiable curiosity about the world around her. Every day after school, she would wander into the nearby forest, her best friend Jenny by her side, to discover new secrets of nature. Seeing playful patterns on the ground, Lila and Jenny stumbled upon a peculiar shadow. It wasn't the shadow of a tree or an animal, but something shapeless, like a dark cloud hovering over the earth. Intrigued, they decided to follow it. The shadow led them deep into the forest, past the bubbling brook and a field of wildflowers, until they arrived at a clearing they had never seen before. In the center of the clearing stood an ancient oak tree, its bark gnarled with age. The shadow seemed to vanish into the trunk of the tree. "I wonder what's inside," Lila whispered to Jenny, her eyes wide with wonder. With a mix of excitement and caution, they approached the oak tree. Suddenly, a gentle voice emerged from the air around them. "Do not fear the shadows," it said, "for they are not always what they seem." Their initial apprehension fading into curiosity. "Who are you?" Lila asked. "I'm the spirit of this forest," the voice replied. "Shadows can hide beauty and mystery, just as they can hide fear. Remember, the truth is often veiled in darkness." The girls nodded, understanding dawning upon them. They had learned something significant, that one should never fear the unknown simply because it appeared dark or different. Thanking the forest spirit, the girls turned to leave. As they retraced their steps back home, they noticed that the once peculiar shadow was no longer a source of fear, but a symbol of all the mysteries waiting to be discovered. From that day, they embraced the shadows, knowing that courage and inquisitiveness would always lead them to the truth. And so, the lesson of the shadows lived on in Greenvale, as Lila and Jenny told their tale of courage and friendship to all who would listen. The villagers learned to see beyond the darkness, understanding that every shadow had its own story to tell. In the quaint village of Willow Grove, where the sun painted the days with golden hues, Mr. Ainsley, the beloved school teacher, had a unique plan for his students. Known for his unusual methods, Mr. Ainsley believed education was more than just textbooks and recitation. His class was the happiest in the village, filled with joy and learning. One bright Monday morning, as the students settled into their seats, Mr. Ainsley announced, "Today, we will have a surprise test." The room filled with gasps and whispers. Surprise tests were rare, and despite their apprehension, the children were curious about the lesson hidden within. Mr. Ainsley handed out blank sheets of paper, saying, "On these papers, I want you to write down something special. Write about a time you helped someone and how it made you feel." The students, puzzled but intrigued, began to write. Little Tommy recalled helping his neighbor carry groceries, while Sophie fondly wrote about rescuing a stranded kitten. As the children essayed their tales, Mr. Ainsley moved gently among them, reading snippets of innocence and kindness. "These stories," he said, "are more precious than any written test. They reflect the goodness in you." The students exchanged shy smiles, pride flickering in their eyes at being seen for their deeds. Then Mr. Ainsley spoke of the lesson for the day. Tests are not just about right answers on papers. Real tests are about actions and kindness. He took each story, cherished it as a testament to the compassion the children had learned. The bell rang, signaling the end of another day, but Mr. Ainsley's words lingered in their hearts. The surprise test had left a mark much deeper than any mark on paper ever could. Years later, the children, now grown, would often recall that test. They would remember Mr. Ainsley's wise words.